Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change 'em. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Stay social. People change 'em. I never switched up.
Hey folks, welcome to the show. DBT is live. We are direct. We are back we are back and sorry, we're live. Sorry about this terrible camera view. You probably wonder where we've been. Well, so have we. Nonetheless, my name is Marcus. It's popping in and out through this broadcast.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Kevin.
I'm Stefania.
I'm Hashim, also known as Hashade. I don't know if you all can see me, but can you hear me? Like, my computer's giving me so many issues. I found this computer actually on an online for sale shop. They said it came straight from DC. I didn't know what that meant.
That meant you need to get rid of that computer yesterday.
You had your diary in it?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
that means somebody's going to be knocking at your door. Mike Carter, a.k.a. Paperboy.
Omar Montgomery. Hey, Hashim, you got to explain the Magnum in the background, brother.
Oh, I am American. So you guys can't see it. For some reason, it's not showing me the background, but I am straight up American, straight up, straight down, left to right, corner to corner. Yes. And these are our values, right? The flags and the gun. I'm just missing the Bible.
There's a statement. Better check that computer for any manifestos that were left behind.
Man,
Listen,
if you think you're not being tracked.
Hashim, today is your day.
today is all of our days as patriots, as proud citizens of today's the day that I'm really disappointed that standard procedure was not followed on the steps of the Capitol 1 year ago.
The anniversary of the day.
The anniversary of the day. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, here we sit 1 year later.
Yes, here we are.
What do you think? What's the pulse of our nation?
It's funny how something dead can have a pulse, right? But then I guess it depends upon where you check it. Who's the pulse that you're checking it of? I guess one thing we know for sure is that white supremacy still reigns supreme. We still know that there is a different set of laws. If the six of us and those in our household have taken this trip to DC last year, or if it had been Black folks, let me just say that. Let me just not try to be fancy or anything with this. If it had been Black folks, the outcome would have been completely different. So that happened in 2021 last year. In October 2020, I was there in a protest with youth against the Supreme Court judge, the Rush Supreme Court Justice nomination of Amy Coney Barrett. And we could not stand on 3 steps to have a tiered effect for a photo. They would not let us stand on the Supreme Court steps. However, they let these terrorists, these anti-Americans, these traitors, enter and breach the Capitol when only one person lost their life, rightfully so, was responded. Only one person was responded to, rightfully so. And that just blows my mind.
Well, there are people that lost their lives, but that lost their life.
Right.
But the long-term effect that it had on people's lives is just as important. I was looking at a show right before we came on that some of those officers are still going through physical therapy, still seeing counselors to deal with the emotional trauma. and some of them, and I believe, I could be wrong, there were some officers, 1 or 2 officers that committed suicide because they believed they had failed in their job. And so if you look at the collective impact of what took place, more than one life was lost.
Yeah. And I guess I should have clarified. There was only one life that was lost in the proper officer response to the breach of the Capitol. There should have been lots of clips emptied. There should have been different actions taken when, like, I just don't understand. As an American citizen, I don't understand. As an American resident, I don't understand. As a U.S. veteran, I don't understand how that was the chosen course of outcome. But what it does show is that I guess law enforcement can show restraint, right? So it puts us into a whole different subjects to discuss and what perspectives to look at this situation. But I know the arrests need to start coming quickly. I know the prosecutions need to start happening quickly. A year out, and not even 25% of the people that breached the Capitol have been arrested and charged.
So you're talking nationally, not local, not just locally, because I was surprised at the numbers of the Coloradans that were out there. It was kind of shocking for me.
Well, Coloradans and law enforcement, military, how many of those that have not been captured went back to work and has the same mentality and are on the job now? And how many lives are being impacted by their views of law enforcement of this country? And how many people are being wrongly prosecuted based on their political views?
Yeah, and we were really hopeful during Obama's administration that Merrick Garland was going to become a Supreme Court justice. But to see kind of the way it appears that he's dragging his feet right now when it comes to prosecuting these Capitol insurrectionists / terrorists, right now, I feel like, I'm not gonna say we dodged a bullet by not having him as a Supreme Court justice, but I'm feeling like he probably would have been more disappointing than we might have hoped anyway. Maybe one of these classic Joe Biden style censorists that would not have been as much of an activist as we may have wanted or needed to counteract the conservative majority. So right now, and look, I will say this, to be fair, he did make a statement very recently saying that he's been knocking down the small fries. But when he's knocking down the small fries, he hasn't been doing much to them. They're getting slaps on the wrist that black men have gone away for lifetime sentences for handing over some crack cocaine in a hand-to-hand sale. These people are getting months of probation or a couple of months of detention. Black people don't see that for minor infractions, and these guys did a whole insurrection.
What I don't understand, and what I'm more fearful of, is the amount of people who were there who are now running for public office. It seems like you tried to disengage yourself from the democracy, and now you're going to try to avail yourself of the democracy. That part I don't understand. And I'm not mad at Merrick Garland at this point. People are getting sentences, and everybody, completely right. If they were people of color, they're black, those sentences would be different, but people are getting them. And he is going after some bigger fish. My greater fear is once he gets to the bigger fish, outside forces are going to stop him from doing what needs to be done, which is charging and convicting those bigger fish. I think just based on watching everything that's going on, this is January 6th. They had a Senate floor, or the House floor. They had a meeting on the House floor to, I don't know, it's not commemorate, that's the wrong word, but to recognize January 6th. There were 2 Republicans there. One of them is not even in office. So we have individuals who don't want to participate in the democratic process, trying to avail themselves of the democratic process, and not even admitting to what happened when they know they were afraid. They know we had Representative Crow here talking about what was going on the inside. We know that that those House representatives were just as afraid as everybody else. Yet they can't even come to the floor today and admit, yeah, these people tried to take over the Capitol. We had two of them. One of them was Liz Cheney, and the other one was her dad. Nobody else.
Right.
No other Republican was on the House floor. We can't even admit that somebody tried to burn down.
It's very odd for it to be Liz Cheney as well, because she was a very zealous conservative before. I think she was going hard against Obama. Wasn't she a part of the crew that was asking if he was American? Was she part of the Benghazi?
I don't know. I don't know if she was a part of that crew. For me, it doesn't really matter.
But to have principal now, it's like it's an interesting time to get principals all of a sudden. When you see this, is like, where were these principals before? And definitely not mad that she's on our side on this argument in particular.
Yeah,
but it's just odd. But I like the way you said, right, and I like the way you said, avail themselves of this democracy. It's like, this is the same democracy that they're trying to avail themselves of, that they're saying doesn't work. They're saying the elections were rigged. I was elected correctly, righteously and duly elected, but he wasn't elected duly. How do you square that circle? So should everyone else leave office right now? No, the Republicans, it was legal.
Right, Kevin, that's interesting that you put it that way, because up and down the ballot, the only part of the ballot they want to throw out is the presidential election. All the Republicans that retain their seats or were put into office, they're disregarding that on the very same ballot that they're trying to throw out.
Yeah.
I agree with you. How do they square that?
There's no way to do it. And honestly, people don't have any knowledge of the way the votes get counted. And also the recounts. I mean, think about how many audits there were in Arizona. All the audits and recounts. The cyber ninjas said that that the vote was accurate in Arizona, even though Fox News called it so early. Even though it was contentious and it was close and whatnot, and it was won by a small geographic area of blue counties, it still was accurate. Matter of fact, I think they found more votes for Joe Biden when they went in for the third audit. It's like they keep finding more votes for the Democratic people. So I don't understand how much more confidence you can ask for, but especially in the swing states. The swing states were audited 2 and 3 times. They came up with the same result. What else can you look for?
Well, when you look at the Georgia audit and how they were televising the people who were counting the ballots, there was a young lady who asked her mom to volunteer that day. And because they were the ones that were closest to the camera, they ended up getting a lot of death threats. So this whole thing about the insurrection January 6th started way before that. That was just the end result of this anger. But there were people who were being threatened, being targeted. Some people had to walk around with bulletproof vests and things of this nature long before January 6th, when that fuse was lit and the insurrection took place at the Capitol.
Yep.
So
what's that comment say? I can't read that one from here.
Was that one that? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Also, and I don't know if you guys, and this is more anecdotal, watching.
It was the timing of when the president spoke that Wanda was talking about and said that, and I didn't mean to cut you off, Michael, just to get what Kevin said. And that good sister Wanda is always out there. I believe she's running for trustee. Am I correct?
No. She is running for a public office. She's running for CU Regent for District 1, which is basically it maps or mirrors the 1st Congressional District down into Getz District.
Okay. All right. It's good to see Wanda always doing great work in the community, always doing her part. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. I just wanted to acknowledge.
No, that's fine. What I wanted to see, and like I said, it was anecdotal, because I've been kind of watching the reaction to the Capitol Police.
Right.
The Capitol Police are from DC, and they are the ones that we've been seeing. A lot of them are black, and I wonder, as we're sitting here, the insurrections are coming in, and even though these are police officers, do you think that that just the race of the police officers had something to do with the level of not disrespect but disregard that the insurrectionists had going into the Capitol?
Yes and no. We can't say that the majority were black. The majority were non-white. There were a different number that doesn't reflect our police department in this great city of Aurora. But nonetheless, it was weird because there was one officer, I believe he was black or he was non-white, that gave his statement about what happened and how people were in and they were talking and like, we're doing this for you, all this type of stuff. And they were cool-esque with him until he stated that he voted for Joe Biden. At that time, that is when they started using the racial epithets and things when they showed their true colors. So there's that. I don't think that was catalyst for them to turn against America. That mindset was already done, planted weeks, if not months ago.
Years, 4 years.
Then flip it then. The police officers seeing white insurrectionists as opposed to black faces, does that change their reaction?
As far as what do you mean?
Well,
you saying they would have shot black folks?
I'm asking. Does it change?
I think when Black Lives Matter protested out there, as Hashim said, the Capitol was shut down. You couldn't get nowhere near the Capitol steps. There was, they had plans in place because they believed that there was going to be an insurrection then when Black Lives Matter was out there protesting. So when this took place, I don't think they believed it was going to go to the level in which it did. And I believe that the Capitol Police thought, okay, they'll just be here for a minute, then they'll go ahead and take off. They didn't expect to be drugged out in the crowd, beaten, almost squished to death in the door. And these are also the same people that say Blue Lives Matter. So their brothers who's supposed to be supporting them were the ones that was trying to cause them harm.
I have to push back a little bit. I would say like they knew, even before they got into the Capitol, they knew how when they broke the barricades, the harm that was being given to the police officers there's no way in hell. Like I couldn't accidentally trip and fall against a police officer that I had been upset with without there being an immediate physical response to my accidental tripping and falling. No. And clips should have been empty.
Well, I push back on that a little bit only because maybe they realized their numbers. And if they would have pushed back or emptied a clip, when the clip is empty, then what do you do? Reload.
But see, Hashim,
they can only do
all
that.
It takes is to make an example. Who wants to get shot?
You're right. I mean, but they did do that. They did do that when they breached the Capitol doors, and they still kept coming. And
one person.
The first one, but she was the example.
No, it was too late at that point. Like you make your statement. No, you make your statement at the steps. Like you make your statement at the steps. It's more than just one person that has to do this type of stuff as well. I cannot give a traitor any type of credit on this, and I can't give a coward any type of credit on this as well.
I agree with you. And here's the thing. I think that they showed when Black Lives Matter was protesting how they could protect that Capitol.
Yep.
And I think that it's been exposed that they chose to stand down. They chose not to send in the proper troops. They chose not to send in reinforcements. So we know that this was all part of the plan. So I agree with you 100%, but I do think that the officers that were there.
Help ain't far away in DC.
What's that?
Help ain't far away in DC. Hammers are within reaching distance of everywhere in DC. At the U.S. Capitol, get out of here.
Well, especially when we're talking about our Capitol and our White House. I agree with you. 100%. I mean, they had time to erect a gallows to hang the vice president on. How long did that take? I'm curious. Because a black person couldn't show up, like you said, with a hammer or a nail or a piece of wood and stand there that long and not be arrested.
Yep. and I don't know if anyone's aware of the latest news. It was also discovered that there were bombs. There was a bomb. There were bombs found. So what we're looking at is the life of the vice president elect was basically in jeopardy, right?
As well as all the other lawmakers.
As well, all the. But I point her out because at that point in time, you had the vice president that was there, and then you had the vice president elect that was there. This is top of Secret Service's protection tower pyramid, right? Like, how did this happen? And you know, where were the bombs? Where the bomb sweeps? Like, where did the bomb sweeps occur before? And then did they even occur? If they occurred and nothing was found, when did the bombs come in? Right? If they were found and no one rang an alarm, like, how did this happen? There's so many questions here that we, and I say we because it's the government of the people, right? Are just not addressing or not asking, or just overlooking, or flat out overlooking. Yeah, so Jan Wilson actually provides a comment saying that the bomb was outside of her door. How does that happen?
Wow.
Lack of security. And guys, I think intent to kill and harm and destroy was announced when they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence." I think they chanted their intent. I think when they brandished weapons and when they broke through the barricades and they fought the police officers, they showed that they were no longer peaceful. When they broke the glass and they took pictures in front of it and they defecated in the hallways, they showed they weren't respecting authority. And I've seen Black people be already dead and tasered 10 to 15 times, and family members arrested for peacefully standing by and just saying, "Hey, don't do it that bad." So, you know, we know that there's a lack of parity or equity in this. But my question is, where was the National Guard? You know, where was our military forces, and how can we trust, you know, our military apparatus?
But they were the Capitol Police refused those different support systems because they didn't believe it was going to be that big. When you began to look at the timeline, Washington Police said, "Hey, we're on standby. Let us know. We'll be there." National Guard said, "Hey, do you need us?" They said, "No, we don't need you." This, that, and the other. So that's when but when Black Lives Matter was there, National Guard, DC Police, and Capitol Police all coordinated for security, but not for this event.
So you have to ask,
hold on.
Why?
Sean Hannity figured it out before the DC police, though.
Sean Hannity was part of it. All right, I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, no, a week before he was saying it's not going to work.
I'm sorry.
Sean Hannity was telling them it's not going to work the way you think. They intercepted his text messages. He said, "Don't do it. Just go retire to Florida and watch Joe Biden mess up every day." That's what he was texting the president. So, you know, I mean, that does speak to something if his own son can't get to him, but Sean Hannity can. But still, Sean Hannity was saying on New Year's Eve, "Don't do it." So if he figured it out, how come CIA, you know, NSA, Homeland Security, FBI, CIA, you know, just all the different ways that they're intercepting all of our electronic communications, they knew.
Two things. One, it was Hannity was texting Mark Meadows, and Mark Meadows gave all that information, or some of that information, to the 1-6 Congressional Committee. The second thing is, it's unprecedented. Think about this. It's the one thing that is supposed to define a democracy, the peaceful exchange of power. What was going on was unprecedented in our lives. The standing president, or he was still president. The standing president has basically said, "No, I will not go peacefully."
So I have to look over there. You don't have to.
I will not go peacefully, and I want you to come to the Capitol. And I don't know if we've got actual video of him saying, "This is what I want you to do," but that was unprecedented. We've never seen that before. Now, even with George W. Bush, even then, it was unprecedented. But go ahead.
Yeah, but the threat was there. The threat had been there all along. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Jan. Thank you I'm so glad that you're here today, that bomb was not detonated. I'm glad that you're here and with us and able to respond. But I have to give you pushback, Mike, because chatter is chatter. And they knew that this was a threat long before this happened. They knew this was a threat, that this was going. He had threatened to never leave. He said Trump had threatened to stay in the White House. He threatened to retain power. They knew that something was brewing. They knew. So you're going to tell me that they can catch chatter about? I think there was something in the news just recently about a terrorist attack that was presumably going to happen. They can catch that, but they couldn't catch this insurrection that they had been talking about for months.
And they were working on this for 2016 if it didn't go their way anyway. So we're 4 years late to the whole thing.
Exactly. And they had been talking about this for 4 years. I disagree that's my pushback. I just think that they were ready. They didn't want to acknowledge. They didn't want to react. They didn't. So, and here's what they did. They put democracy, not just here, but democracy worldwide on trial.
Make sure we blame who Trump did something unprecedented, and make sure we place the blame on who it needs to be placed on.
And if we're going to talk about blame, and it kind of ties into what Kevin was saying as well earlier, our AG has some blame on this too. If these convictions, if these charges are not rolled out properly. So while they did not get the immediate table flip of democracy that they wanted on January 6th, here we are. Thousands of people were in DC a year ago participating in this attempted coup. A fraction of a percentage have been faced with charges and have received sentencing. What message is this sending? Right? While the table might not have been flipped over, it's tilted, it's wounded, it's tumbling. And if we're going to talk about blame, respond appropriately. We show what happens anytime you try to take over, anytime you try to take over the government, anytime you try to impede an election. Like, if we're not willing to make an example, it is nothing more than being complicit in what occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And well, let's call it what it is, though. Let's call a thing a thing. This was a attempted coup d'état. You have General Flynn and his brother Michael Flynn, who still is a very high-ranking general, who were highly complicit with this. Also, highly coordinating with QAnon members, who are a big portion of this. If all you needed really was Mike Pence to say, "I don't know," just drag his feet a little bit. And say, hey, maybe there's a second, like Trump was saying in 2016, maybe there's a Second Amendment solution to this. All you need was a couple more bad words. Honestly, if that gallows wasn't up there, I don't know if it would have went the right way. I think if Trump didn't scream at Pence quite as much as he did, this wouldn't have went the right way.
Well, Pence has a different story today.
What was it?
It was just a bad day with a misunderstanding.
Oh, man. There's a tour gone wrong.
Yep.
The 3-hour tour.
Gone wrong.
All gone wrong, man.
I do have a quick question. As we began to think about January 6th and some of the things that happened after, how does this just did this impact Black America, and how does it impact Black America? Because to me, when we began to talk about critical race theory, for example, look at the most passionate and violent arguments of elections this past November was with school districts and about the philosophy of critical race theory. Some of these same type of people who are out here fighting and threatening superintendents and things of this nature were probably some of the same people that were at the Capitol. I just want to know, how does this impact us as a people? What do we learn from it? And last but not least, if these people want transparency in elections, these same people that were at the Capitol protesting should be out there supporting the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Just my opinion.
Say it.
Yep.
Say it. The answer is normalizes it. So this has already happened. This is old news. It's going to be kind of like another bombing in Israel and in Palestine, right? Where at first you see it, oh my God, look at those children on the beach blown up by that bomb. They weren't doing anything. After a while, it's kind of, yeah, but that's been going on for so long, right? Yeah, but last time Trump ran for office, the fourth time Trump runs, or a Trump acolyte runs and says, fake news and stop the steal, it's going to be old news. Another raid on the Capitol. That's what it starts. It starts that ball rolling.
I wonder, I don't, to me, I don't know if it's affected the Black community more so than it has really brought a lot to the attention of some people, even more than, you know what I mean? Like, did it bring this to the foreground? Whereas everyone thought racism was really, going away and it wasn't really happening. I mean, we see the two justice systems now. We see it. And we see it. We've always known it. I wonder if there's a lot more. I don't know. I wonder if there's a lot more people, white people, who have noticed that there's something different here. I mean, it's one thing to be out for democracy, and there's one thing to be a Trumpist. That's a whole nother thing. And to me, it underscores the racism in this country.
I think a word that we're all missing is again. This underscores the racism in this country again. But this has happened on U.S. soil again. I mean, like, the only thing that we're like, oh, is the Capitol. But pick a state house, pick a state, pick a city hall where white supremacy has done horrific things and there has not been consequences, right? Or there hasn't been the appropriate consequences for it. Name for me, I will buy a drink for someone who can name for me the one time when white supremacy was dealt with accordingly in this country.
Right. Pick a tree in the downtown of small town USA that didn't have atrocities going on and nothing, and there were proper reparations for that community after the fact. Yeah, that's a really good point, Hashim. Again.
Yeah. So, and I'm guilty of it, and I get mad when you all are doing it. We keep trying to apply logic as to why folks ain't happy. Like, or we're trying to apply logic to like, why ain't this working right? Like, we got to remove logic from it and just understand it to be, it is what a TI is. And it's white supremacy at its finest.
And it's what's amazing to me is it's supported at all costs. At no matter what is at stake, they will continue to support it. We can change it. They're trying to change history by saying we don't want to teach certain things in school because we don't want to offend the parents that have the children there. So we can erase history. We can pretend have two different sides of the coin by saying that's not an insurrection, that was a tour, and people fall for that. And people, they at all costs, no matter, democracy is at stake here. Like, our vote counting and putting the person who we believe the majority of the country wants to have run our country, that's what's at stake, and they don't care. Yeah. They will at all costs do whatever it takes for white supremacy to win.
And I need non-white poor people to listen and listen well. Y'all get ready to get treated like black folks. If you don't see that this writing is on the wall, I'm telling you, this train is coming downhill. There are no brakes on it, or the brakes on it are failing. The only thing you can do is knock this foolishness train off track, and that is breaking out of your anti-blackness, breaking out and thinking that, oh, I'm not poor, you are, right? Thinking out that I'm different, you're not different, right? You really have to understand that it is getting ready to happen. And when it happened, we could take note of this with the abortion rights, healthcare rights. Mm-hmm. Like, it's coming. This is the world that y'all have created. And hey, y'all get ready to get a taste. What did Paul Mooney say? Everybody wants to be. I ain't gonna say it because we
till it's time
nobody
to be.
Wants to be. Yeah. But y'all get ready to be treated just the same.
But I want to piggyback on that statement.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
I want to piggyback on that because there's a lot of black strong conservatives, like members of Proud Boys, members of a lot of these groups, Turning Point USA, your Candace Owens of the world, your what's his name, Noor, the gun rights advocate, Don Bongino on Fox News, who are so hypercritical of the black community in communities of color and people that are experiencing poverty, and say all those same talking points, but forget you're still black. Like, when it really pops off, you're the easiest target. They're taking you down too. You're right there. once it's okay, because you've heard the recordings. I think they had some police on recordings saying they can't wait till the race war pops off because they're going to go out and start shooting black people.
Now, where are those police officers?
Yeah, exactly. Where are they? Were they strung up? Did anyone bring a gallows for those guys?
Like,
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. But maybe they moved to White Plains, New York. I don't know. But, you know, this is one of those things where people forget where they came from. You think because you're cool with white people, but you're not rich. Even if you make, you know, 6 figures, if you're not a multimillionaire, you don't count, right? Like you don't have a past. You're still black.
Carter.
Oh, my whole thing was I don't want this to turn into some kind of voter suppression against black people. I don't want that to be the outcome. I don't want it to in any way affect the amount of people that are still willing to go and vote, right? I don't want somebody looking at me like, oh, nothing's going to change. Look, even if we go vote, they're just going to take it from us. I don't want that to be the end game. I want people to still participate in the process. I want them to still fully go out there and vote for candidates.
There's some things that have to happen. Our elected officials have to our elected official and those that aren't elected, like if our prosecutors, right, have to actually move. Our elected officials actually have to move. If they feel that this was egregious against democracy, then they need to pick up where Jason Crow's at right now. Like Jason Crow's speech should be the bar, right? Or should be the bottom. And everybody else, if you have an issue with what happened, you need to do something about it. You need to say something about it. You need to encourage people to do it. Because what the other side is doing, they're attacking this from all angles. So you will have those speeches out there. Nothing works because why? The Democrats are being too soft-handed in their approach and addressing the situation. So why should I vote? And then you have Democrats that are kind of being silent and not pushing this. Where's Diana DeGette right now? Safest seat in the union. Where's Diana DeGette? What is her speech? What is she saying right now? Right? She could actually be going completely off. See how I'm watching my language today? Completely off on this situation and not have to be worried about her seat being taken away by a Republican.
You know, I want to give a shout out to my friend, I don't know him, Eugene Goodman. Let's go back a little bit. During the Revolutionary War, Black people fought for the independence of this country, and the outcome was continued slavery. During the Civil War, we fought with the Union, and the outcome was Jim Crow. During World War II, the Tuskegee Airmen flew and protected bombers, and the outcome was continued discrimination. So when we have Eugene Goodman, who truly saved the Capitol, saved the vice president's life, my question is, do they even acknowledge what we do for this country to keep the democracy going? So when you ask that question, Michael, to me, when you ask that question, are we going to stop voting? Are we not going to participate? My question is, what are we voting for when it seems like we get diminished returns when we're the ones putting our lives on the line to save this country?
Yeah.
So for me, personally, I think it's time for them to act and show that they see the value of Black people in America. And until they do that, Black people are going to be hesitant about voting. They're going to be hesitant about elected officials and going to be hesitant about our future in this country.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. And I agree in the fact that what everybody in this country, the first thing they should have said to Eugene Goodman was, thank you. Thank you. Everybody. There was, as we started in the beginning, there was a coup. And thank you. But he's getting death threats. When our democracy was attacked, the person defending it was getting death threats. And to echo what Omar, I was actually thinking about that exact thing today, to echo what Omar was saying, it seems like Black people are constantly trying to protect a democracy that has little to no value in them. Yet we still get up and we still go and try to protect it.
So I have a question. How do we want Eugene Goodman to be recognized? Because he did receive a Congressional Medal of Freedom.
I want people to stop trying to send him death threats.
Oh, that's not going to happen.
No.
Track those people down.
There we go.
That's one. Track those people down and throw all the books at them.
I got no problem with that.
Don't hurt them.
The examples that they're getting is that they can do it and get away with it. Our very own Congress men and women have issued death threats to others. So
Right.
Very true.
And speaking of Congress people, I want to be clear that the Republicans in the state of Colorado did not show up at the Capitol today. Right? They were not present. So even the former prosecutor, Ken Buck, completely has no. I guess he no longer has a concern about the law. I guess he
didn't wear that T-shirt.
Order. No.
No.
But yeah,
I was gonna say something kind of similar to that, to all the viewers in different areas besides the Greater Metro Denver area. Pay attention to your state legislatures.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of this story is being written, also, because they are passing laws. They are circumventing voting rights as we speak, while the John Lewis Voting Rights Act is lying in wait and gathering dust. They're writing spider webs of laws to keep black people of color, Native Americans, indigenous people from having that right to vote. God bless Georgia. Good Lord. Texas, I'm sorry for you, because they're rewriting everything. Like we said, it was a 3-hour tour at the Capitol. It was unpaid internship that we called slavery.
Mhm.
It's an officer making a mistake whenever they do something like a George Floyd, besides Derek Chauvin. And I don't know if you guys heard the news about George Floyd's niece getting shot in their apartment in Houston. It was very weird. 3 a.m. Someone just shot a bullet through the apartment, just started shooting out shots, and his like 4-year-old great niece was shot. Things like that. What's going on with that? Was that a targeted attack? I don't know. It's very coincidental that it's around these dates. But then again, there's so many of these dates. Like, we have to watch the smaller level things. Joe Biden won. We still can't rest on our laurels, because what happened to your state house? What happened to your county commissioners? What happened to your sheriff's department?
Yep.
Who is your sheriff? I know some stuff that's happened in Douglas County. I've had an experience or two in Douglas County.
Right. But like I said before, by any means necessary, they should stop calling themselves the Republican Party and call themselves the loyalists, because they're loyal to one thing, and that's white supremacy. And they will protect that by any means necessary. Now, the Republican Party may have had a different agenda. They may have had morals. They may have had. I'm just saying, Hashim, don't blow a gasket. They may have at one point in time been willing to have the conversation with people that they disagree with. This loyalist party, they absolutely do not. They do not, and it's quite different. It's very different. It's playing out on the world stage, and that's what bothers me the most, is how has it affected the entire country, the world, with democracy. We've seen more and more countries who are now willing to step up and try to create an autocrat in their own countries.
The only thing I just want to add to that, we began to talk about calls to action. Yes, I do have my concerns about elected officials and their agenda towards Black people. At the same time, I will say this: we need to make sure that people are registered to vote, educated on the candidates, and that they have an agenda. They have an agenda for the people in your community, because your politics is local and immediate. So here's what I say: register 10 people in your community. Make sure that if they moved there recently, that they address stuff is taken care of so that they can receive their ballots. And make sure that you educate the people on the candidates and their agenda for the people in your community and the people that you represent. That is something that you can do immediate, and that is something that you can do to create systemic change in your community.
Yeah. You said I don't want people to want to give up.
Kevin, you're breaking up quite a bit.
To report
Just to put it out there real quick while Kevin gets together, if, and we say this all the time, if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying so hard to take it from you.
Yeah,
100%.
Yep. So we got to keep voting.
Yeah. So everybody has a part to play, right? I mean, we and non-elected folks have a part to play by going out and make sure that we still continue to vote, that we educate ourselves on the issues. If we are uncertain, we ask questions. If we are uncertain, we follow someone who knows. And we also have a part to play in demanding that our elected officials do something and more.
Yes.
Yeah, I give them no rest. You can ask every elected official I know.
No, our job is to hold them accountable.
Yep.
Think about how many churches are visited during that time of election season. Promises are made, but yet we're still at the bottom of a lot of these major statistics that impact communities, whether if it's being unhoused, being unemployed, not having access to government contracts. We need to begin to see change, and we need to see change statistically and systemically, so that we know if we cast and invest our vote in you next time, that we're going to get something in return.
Yep.
I don't know. I think I just want to say I want to thank DBT for bringing it out, and I hope 2022 we'll be able to keep going and let the people know that this is a place where they can come, be their authentic selves, listen, and be a part of a program that represents their community.
I want to say this real quick, and I was thinking about this after we talked last night, how beautiful it was that we had 6 Black professionals sit down and have a conversation. I thought that was beautiful, and it didn't hit me until the next morning or today that I'm like, wow, that we had an adult conversation, and that was impressive.
You just need to be around more Black people, sir.
You know what?
that is
What is love? It's a drug. Let it rotate, didn't hit back in it. Calling me an Uber just to hit back in it. Use the cash out like pay, I send it. Is it really worth the wait? I don't